Howdy world. Excuse me, I'm outside. It's kind of cold in Cheyenne, although it's kind of warming up. It's I think about 35 degrees right now, and it's kind of a pretty night actually. It's kind of a pretty day, 35 ain't, Fahrenheit ain't that warm, but it's been cold here, so it's a lot warmer. I wanted to say a Cowboy Grady bedtime story. Kind of in the tradition of my grandma. She used to have a farm. My grandparents had a farm, and my grandma, she used to tell me scary stories before I would go to bed, and I loved it. I would be scared going up the stairs. She had a big old white Victorian farmhouse in Michigan, 140 acres, a beautiful farm. But and the light was at the top of the stairs, so I'd have to go up these dark stairs to get to they had a couple bedrooms up on the second floor, but kind of more like loft bedrooms than regular bedrooms. And I loved it. So this is kind of my grandma's bedtime story, although it's not a scary one. I was like into Greek mythology when I was a kid. And, the Greeks and the Romans, ancient Greeks, they built like these beautiful temples, and they were the first ones to have the Olympics. And they built these beautiful white column temples. Like one of the most famous complexes is in Greece. It's called the Parthenon, and it's a whole temple complex. And it's kind of, damaged, and it's really worn out and old. And the Romans have a big one in Rome. They have called the Colosseum, where they had all these games and gladiators and stuff. And it's also in very bad condition. But the Parthenon's even worse because they had a little war, Greece with Turkey, and they used it the Turks shot it all full of holes and stuff with cannons and kind of ruined a lot of it. And there was a famous Englishman came over, and he took a lot of the friezes. That's kind of a flat statuary that covered a lot of it, and a lot of the statuary back to the big famous Tate Museum in England. You can see a lot of it still there. But, it'd be real easy. They put a bunch of collection boxes around that and any historical world site, and people see it, donate money to fix it and repair it, make it like brand new again. That would be such a beautiful thing. It's such a world treasure. So is the Colosseum. It could be restored and fully furnished again and be just as beautiful as ever it was. A lot of people, I would think, God willing, would donate and help it be beautiful again. I thought of that once in California, San Juan Capistrano. They have a beautiful Spanish mission there. It's a couple 100 years old. They had a church there. They have a beautiful rose garden, and they had a church there. It was destroyed, a beautiful church by earthquake 100 years ago, and they never repaired it. And people would, I thought at the time, that's kind of how I came up with the idea. I would gladly chip in $10 or $20 or something, to repair it and rebuild that church and make it earthquake proof this time as much as we can, God willing. But I want to tell you, see, they had these gods, the Greeks and the Romans. They shared them, but they were kind of different names. They had the king of the gods, and his name was Zeus. And in Greek mythology, his name was Zeus, and in Roman mythology, his name was, let me see, Zeus. I think it was Zeus, but some of them are different. The one I'm going to tell you about tonight is Hermes, whose name is also Mercury. I always had a hard time figuring out, or keeping the track which is Greek and which is Roman, the name for him. But he was always my favorite. Well, him and Pan. I like Pan. He is a horned god, and he was half goat and half man. And he was kind of wild, and he liked parties and stuff. I like Pan a lot too. And they make a lot of little garden statues of him, and I really liked him. But he was kind of also, we kind of prettied him up and cuted him up too, because he was god of nature to them, and he was fierce too. He had a fierce side to them. But, a lot of people think like the Romans and the ancient Greeks, they're like really wild and sexual and just not very moral people. And, drank and partied a lot. And they did do all that stuff. And they had periods that were better and periods that were worse, that were more moral and less moral. But actually, a lot of their mythology and their gods were very morals, the same morals we have in Christianity. Goodness and love and righteousness. There's like a famous story of theirs, this couple. They loved each other so much that the god Zeus, I think, he turned them into an olive tree that was 2 olive trees, but 1 olive tree together, so they would be together forever. I always thought that was beautiful. But I was like Hermes, like him and Pan, my favorite 2 gods, Greek and Roman gods. And Hermes and Mercury. Hermes was the god of thieves, and he was also the god of messengers, a few other things. And he had winged sandals, and he would fly, and he had a winged helmet that one of the gods gave him as presents. And he had a scepter with 2 snakes on it, and he could heal people with that. He was like the god of medicine to them too, but he was the god of thieves too. And one of his brothers, he was a son of Zeus also. And when he was like a little kid still, because some of them grew up, some were like Venus. She came out of the sea fully grown in a big clamshell. And she was a goddess of beauty and romance and love. Well, she had a son named Cupid. He was really the goddess of love, but she was also. And she came out fully grown. But like Hermes and Mercury, same god, he grew up, and he was born like a little baby. And when he was a little boy god, and see all those gods. Well, not all of them, but most of them, they lived on Mount Olympus in Greece. And that was like kind of, it wasn't really heaven, because they had a heaven that was called the Elysian Fields. And Hades, their god, which we kind of say sometimes, is heck, and it ain't heck, brother. But their god Hades was the ruler of the underworld, which was where you went if you were, you went there if you were bad or good. But if you were really good, you went to the Elysian Fields, which were like in the earth, and they used to put a gold coin under your tongue when they buried you if you had money, and that because there was this boat keeper of the dead, and he would take your spirit if you gave him a gold coin, and in his boat down the river Styx was in the underworld to the Elysian Fields. And so they would bury everybody with a gold coin, or if you had money, for a while. Not always, because they were around they were civilization for like 1,000 years. And like the Romans, they believed that they were started by 2 brothers, Romulus and Remus, who are like abandoned in the wilderness and raised by wolves, and then they founded Rome. That's, they weren't gods, but they were important to the Romans. And excuse my coughing and sniffing, a little cold. But anyways, Hermes was a little boy, and he lived in a cave on Mount Olympus. And he was also the god of music to them. And he had a brother whose name was Apollo, and he was the sun god. And he would take this chariot, this golden chariot with these golden fiery horses, and he would carry the sun around the earth. That's what they believed. And he was his brother. And almost all of the Greek and Roman gods, not all of them, but almost all of them, really is supposed to be incredibly beautiful. And just really beautiful. And they would usually wear like these togas, little, white linen cloths and sandals and gold leaf jewelry in their hair. And but Hermes, a little boy, he's god of thieves. And he had a brother, Apollo, who's like supposed to be the most beautiful of all the gods, Greek and Roman gods. And he was god of the sun. And Hermes, little boy, he lived in this cave. And his brother, Apollo, had these golden oxen. and Hermes was god of thieves, and he always liked to steal a little bit. And I'm from Detroit, and I try to do everything right and be a good person, but it took me a long time to learn how to do that, So I have stole things in the past, but I kind of, and I used to have a fantasy being a professional thief. That was kind of my fantasy for a long time when I was young. Once I met this, I went to school in Detroit a little while. I'm from Detroit, originally Detroit City proper. And I met this friend in school, and he said to me, we were sitting there, we were like 12 or something, 11, 12. And I said, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? He said, oh, a professional thief. And at the time, I was wanting to be a lawyer. And I said to him, well, yeah, me too. And I said, yeah, I want to be a lawyer. It's kind of a joke, just for lawyers. They're not, hopefully not really like that, But that's what I said. And he laughed, And he said, well, that's good because I probably need one, And he was a good friend of mine for a little while, and I really liked him. And and that was kind of my fantasy for a long time. Be a professional thief, kind of fantasy, So I delved into it, unfortunately or fortunately, or however that goes, a little bit. And but one of the best movies you can ever watch is called Thief, about thief movies. If you like thief movies, professional thief movies, stars James Caan. It is one of the best thievery, professional thief movies you'll ever see, I think. Just want to throw, that's Cowboy Grady, good movie pick, thief kind of pick. There's also incredible books, two series. One's called Thieves World. It's kind of fantasy and thievery. It's a whole series, awesome book. And there's another book series called The Stainless Steel Rat. I don't remember the authors, but it's about a professional thief kind of in the future. It's an awesome book too, series. And a whole bunch of books, both of them. Throw that in there too. But anyways, Hermes, so he snuck around and he stole his brother's golden oxen. And he took them back to his cave, and his brother got real mad. He come back, he took the son around today, and he got real mad, and he's trying to figure out who his oxen were. And his brother Hermes, Mercury, he got kind of scared and worried because his big brother was a lot older than him, and he was like full grown-up god. And so Hermes decided to butter him up kind of. He made him a present. And what he did, he took a tortoise shell and he put sides on it and stringed it and made it like a harp. And he gave it to Apollo and gave him back his oxen. And that kind of, to soften him up so he wouldn't be mad at him. Sometimes they would get mad at each other and do some bad things. But he was a little boy, like 5, 6 something at the time. He was a young god, and they called them demigods, some of them, and gods. He was kind of a full god. They had like 12 main ones, and Zeus and Hera were the king and queen gods. And they had 12 main gods, and the rest, most of them, not all of them, but a lot of them were demigods. But Hermes was a main god. He was one of the 12. And Zeus and Hera were the king and queen of gods, and they were a lot of their fathers and mother, but not all of them. And 11 of them were very beautiful. They were just amazingly beautiful. And like Hermes and Zeus and Hera, they don't usually portray Zeus and Hera as beautiful, but they were. And most people, they would worry about offending them too, so they try to worship every god, not just one, although they usually had like their favorite one or favorite couple, but usually they tried to please every god, not just, because they were like jealous gods. And if you didn't, if you like just ignore one of them or all of them for one, they might do something mean to you. But, one god, he was like the god of mechanics and blacksmiths and stuff like that. His name was Vulcan, and he wasn't beautiful. I mean, he was beautiful, like way more beautiful than, say, a god of, than a human being, but not as, he was ugly compared to the other gods. And matter of fact, when he was born, Zeus saw him and he thought, "Oh gosh, you're so ugly." He threw him off the Mount Olympus, and when he was a little baby, and hurt him, and he limped ever after that. And that's kind of my story, for the night. It's not kind of as good, but I thought I'd, tell you a little bit about the Greek and Roman gods. I really like mythology, and a lot of them, not all, but a lot of mythology, Western, especially the Western world, is Greek and Roman gods. And I always liked it, so I just wanted to tell you a little bit. You have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful night. God bless your world. God bless you, America. I think it's March 8th or 9th, depending on the time. It's around 11:30 or 12 o'clock, or a little after or something. And this is Cowboy Grady saying, God bless you, and America, official Judeo-Christian country, hopefully soon. God bless you all. God says the Holy Bible is love, pure love, the only real love. He's pure love. And He loves all of us. He wants us to be loving and kind and generous and love each other, be nice to each other. Try to do that to the rest of the night and tomorrow. You have a blessed night. God bless you all. Out. Bye.